Hello, beloved. It's me, Robin Hallett, intuitive healer and light sparkler at robinhallett.com. And this is Tea with Robin. On today's episode, you have that thing happen where you get upset again, you feel that feeling, and you know it. It's familiar. You might remember feeling that way, going back a ways. You have these situations, these patterns, these things that keep happening. Dynamic with other people, whatever it is, you get that sense, this always happens to me, or this is a very familiar thing. I like to call those our sacred triggers, and we're going to talk about that today. What are they, and how do we heal them? How do we go all in? How do we wake ourselves up and keep moving in the direction we would most love to be heading? I already can't wait. So come grab a cup of yum yum and meet me here. Hi, beautiful friend. Welcome back to another episode of Tea with Robin. This is episode 149. 149. The show notes, links I mentioned, books, references you can find by checking the episode description where you're listening now, or head over to robinhallett.com/149. Show notes and the complete transcript. I always transcribe every episode, and I know a lot of you like to read, prefer to read, so that's there for you as well. So welcome back. If it's your first time here, hello, it's me, Robin. This is a podcast about healing, down to earth, healing and love and support for everyday things going on. I'm really glad you're here. And, just want to say thank you to however you came to be here today. Isn't it amazing sometimes the way miracles work in your life? Coincidences or synchronicities or, divine happenstance, whatever we want to call it. I love hearing the stories. I never get tired of it. And I love observing miracles in my own life, how you're led to things. And it's amazing to me how we ask for help and we don't always remember having asked for help. Maybe we say a prayer, or, we just realize inside our own being something has to change, something's got to give, or maybe in a moment of frustration, we're like, I am so sick of this, We launch a prayer. That's how we do it. We ask for help. And so I love seeing how the helps come in for us. I love hearing your stories, and I've got many of my own that are beautiful as well. It's always wonderful to be reminded that the universe is listening. It's what I like to say. It's beautiful, and you are being heard. And don't forget, don't forget you can ask for help. Friends returning, how are you? How is the weather in your heart? Have you been being kind to yourself? Have you been honoring your journey? I know there's a lot moving and shaking in the world right now, and it's sort of that back to school time. There's a lot of energy flowing, and COVID-related stuff. There's just a lot of energy, upheaval, world, stuff. I know I say it almost every week, and that's true almost every week. So I hope that you are remembering, to love yourself, to practice your own self-care, to practice your own self-love, to decide how you want it to be instead of just accepting the way it's being handed to you. I think that's really important. And sometimes what's being handed to you, isn't this so true? It's just what you're thinking about. It's your mental stories that are handing you the energy of the moment. And remember, you can choose again. And I hope you are. I hope you are. Over here, I'm doing pretty good. It's been an interesting week. I'm recording on my anniversary with number one husband, 21 years married today. Very special. He's not been feeling well, not COVID related. People still get the regular old flu, I guess. And so I've been cooking soup and doing little caretakey things for him, and really appreciating our time together. So happy anniversary to us. And we had a nice time. We went to the beach a few days ago, took a half day and drove to Illinois State Beach Park. It's so beautiful there. There've been a lot of beachy places we haven't been able to visit this year because they have these things, unexploded ordnances through the naval bases where we are in Illinois. And so until that area gets cleaned up, you can't access the beach. So we drove a bit further north, and it's even more beautiful than the beaches we normally visit. And I tell you, sometimes that decision to get away for the day, take a half day and stop everything and just go, it's so healing. It's so energizing and helpful to you to get out and see a different vista, to take a new road, to visit somewhere different. And I want to encourage you, if that inspires you, I want to encourage you to try something like that too. It's easy for us to stay in our groove, isn't it? Do our same old, same old. It's amazing, though, the energy, the life force energy that can return to you when you just take a little turn, Just take a little turn. Do it a little different. Do something you don't normally do. And I love that so much. So we had a really good time. Found a little ice cream stand that we had never been to before, and I had my favorite dreamsicle. They had a dreamsicle swirl. Dreamsicle? Yeah, it's like sherbet orange flavor and then vanilla ice cream. So good. So it's been a sweet week, and also interesting week at work. I number one said, do not talk about the mail you got for at least several weeks. So I got some mail this week, and mostly the mail I got, it's been beautiful, just hearing the realizations you have been making and having around the episodes lately. Thinking about 146, 147, 148. I really appreciate your reaching out to say hello and to share what you're receiving. And when I talk to you sometimes in session or sometimes on Facebook, whatever, I love knowing that it is impacting you in a positive way, that it's resonating and you're listening and you're trying out things in your own world, and it is making a difference for you. And there's always mail that is not about that, that is not sparkling or positive or sharing any ahas. I guess I don't really get the point in sharing negative feedback with somebody. I really don't. I've been thinking about this a lot. What is the point in striking up an email or leaving a comment that is negative in nature or a little bit mean-spirited, or, as we used to say, twisting the knife a little, just to stick it to somebody a little bit? I am not sure what the point of that is. I'm happy to say it did not hurt my feelings, and I'm grateful for the experience, because I would definitely call that situation a sacred trigger for me, for my work, for what I share, for being online. The fear, the concern, the worry. And the temptation to tone yourself down because you know people are out there who are going to do that. Maybe they're going to do it or you're afraid it's going to happen. This is a sacred trigger. This is exactly what I want to talk to us about today. So just perfect timing as usual. But the thing I want to mention right now about choosing to send a message like that or leaving a comment or writing a mail like that is this. What we damns us back. When you take the time to write a negative letter or you think bitchy thoughts about someone, and you guys, I know most of you aren't the ones doing that, but so just take a moment to think when you're critical or mean-spirited, and we all go there, I go there, we want to work to quickly shift the energy because, of course, it's your right. Of course, it's your right to be pissy, to be negative, to make fun of people, to be critical. It's your right to complain. It's your right to, if that's what you want to do, to hide, pretend you're giving a compliment and really use that time to say negative things in there mostly. That's up to you. But I promise you are getting, it's like buy one, get one free. You're getting that energy as well. And it's just like we don't want to feel like crap, right? Most of us would agree we don't want to feel like crap. It's a tough enough time right now. It's a challenging time. I'm encouraging you to work on this place in you, wherever that might be, because we have it. How can you be less attached to the upset you feel about other people or the judginess you carry? It's just a really good thing I wanted to say because it is always strange to get email like that where it's like, hi, I love your podcast. Here's 10 things I can't stand about you. And then, wow, I love your podcast. Have a great day. Thanks a lot. It's like, how am I supposed to even respond to that? But why are you doing that? Why? And again, it's not about people who write letters to me. All of us, I'm encouraging all of us to look at where we might be doing this, where we're sort of looking at someone else in a critical way or tearing someone down. What does that do for you? I'm really in my own journey looking at, right now, I'm really looking at receiving and noticing where it's sort of like energetically I put my hand out like, stop, like that, stop. Where I'm pushing it back. I'm not taking it in. And so much light is coming to us in so many ways. I mean, basically, no matter what's going on in the world, the energy of love and support is around us, non-physical love and support. And also there are people in your world who just really, really love you and think good thoughts for you and pray for you. Gosh, I know that's the case, and, I really do. So how about we just listen to this today and we decide to receive some of the love and support that's here. And even if, some stuff happens that's not quite right, or not quite what we would have loved, or we disagree, in the mind, we can be shitty about things, can't we? We can think thoughts that are pretty shitty. I'll just say it very plain. Let's work on that, because mostly that is locking us into that spot too. And I know it's like opposing wishes, opposing energies, opposing intentions that you're having, isn't it? Opposing things. Yeah, We cross out. We say we want it to be good, and then we do something that is the opposite of that, energetically or mentally, and what we damns us back. What we give out, we receive in kind, you know? So I wanted to say that today. I've got all these Post-it notes around me. I kind of was like, I'm not really sure what I wanted to talk about today, but more and more I keep saying to Spirit, to the Holy Spirit, just guide this. Help me, guide this. Tell me what to talk about, you know? And it keeps coming to me that you and I have these familiar places in us. I'm calling them sacred triggers, which lead to holy shift moments. I know it's a little cornball, but that's what it is. You've got these familiar places, familiar happenings, familiar patterns, familiar upsets. Even the people you do the dance with are familiar. They have certain traits in common, right? Think about it. You're going to find it. So these sacred triggers, they lead us to holy shift moments where we can shift instead of just saying, holy shit, it's happening again. Why does this always happen to me? Everybody is, my life sucks, or people suck, or people don't get me. And the temptation then is to burrow in even deeper, the upset, and us burrowing in even further like a tick, into the story, into the energy. We actually really would love to transform. So, holy shift, sacred triggers, holy shift. It's good. I like it. I really want to speak to some of these things I continue to notice and point these things out. So that's what we're going to talk about today. A few more things I've been noticing. Just a few. I have some tea here. I would love to have some tea with you. I've been really, before I get into more of that, I should say, do you order stuff on Amazon? I know people are mixed. I've made my peace with it because it's convenient, it's cheaper, and I buy in bulk and do the Amazon day. I do what I can, and then I also put a lot of my boxes out in my garden to make compost or more dirt for next year. I do what I can, So I ordered a 6-pack of the tea that I love, the Earl Grey that I love, and they accidentally sent English breakfast. I'm always in a quandary, do I return it? Because, that's a lot of work and waste. And I could just drink it. But also, it's not what I ordered. A mistake was made. This is such a weird place sometimes I think we can get into where, you can be fine with it. But I don't know that that's always the right move. And so in my case, I got on the Amazon chat and let them know what happened. And they said, keep the tea, which I can't stand. We're going to mail you more tea. Keep the tea. And I was thinking, okay, this is already turning into $100 million 6-pack of tea. You know how that goes. But when you kind of sit it out and you think, well, they could give me a refund. They're still going to ask me to keep the tea. I'm going to turn around and buy more tea, Oh, so this is the free tea that Amazon mistakenly sent. And it is delicious, the best English breakfast tea I've ever had. It's got that perfect taste. It's Twinings of London. I usually get the Lady Grey, number one husband. That's his favorite tea. I've got lemon juice in there, which I love that flavor together, and a little stevia. And here's what I want to say. A special cheers to those of us showing up and being ourselves and risking being criticized, risking being made fun of, risking being pinched, being exposed to meanness. I celebrate you. I know how hard it is to show up and do that when you know sometimes there's a risk involved in that. And so you got to stay true to yourself. And it's just fear that holds us back. It is only our fear that holds us back. It is just a thought that holds us back. And even if this has been a long-standing pattern of yours to be afraid and not risk, it's still just a thought. It's still just a story. So cheers to us getting out and being brave and courageous and taking those risks. So yes, cheers to that, my friend. Cheers. So good. That is delicious. Sacred triggers. Going back to my sacred trigger, negative feedback. I will say I am really, really grateful that these things happen in my experience. I am grateful. I mean it. Once in a while my mind does go to who the fuck does stuff like this, except this has been my whole experience. It kind of seems like I'm used to it. I had that family who was mean-spirited and cloaking nice things in mean things, and you couldn't always tell if you were being put down or not. I had a lot of friends. I mean, if you've been listening here a minute, if you go back into the episodes like in the 50s, and you can find all of those if you go to the Libsyn feed, you can find every single episode on my website. I know some, like iTunes, after 100, they don't show the older ones. You can listen to all, even number 1, all the way back. If you come to my website, they are all there. And on the Libsyn site, the podcast host, you can listen to everything. So in the 50s, there were so many episodes like Lobster Dance and Be a Friend to Your Own Heart and The Opinion of Other People. There are so many topics I covered on codependency and narcissism and people, those patterns that repeat in your life where you're like, oh my God, one after the other, after the other, after the other. So for me, these are your sacred triggers. If you're relating to what I'm saying, now I'm going to say you, but I've already told you about me here. So I don't want to just talk about me. I want to talk about you and us and this journey we're on. We have sacred triggers, things that repeat, things that keep happening. And if we look at them as sacred triggers, meaning the things that keep happening again and again, where you continue to find this repeat thing. People don't listen, or they're critical, or they're jealous, or they're mean-spirited, or they don't invite you, or you leave the room and they are talking about you, or they never give you a compliment. I don't know, everybody kind of has a feeling of what theirs is, I will put it that way. If you're really quiet in your heart, everybody probably can tune to it and find it, this place, you can look at the thing you're always defending yourself for. You can look at, right? Look at the thing you're always defending yourself for, or look at the thing you feel so upset about or so hurt by or so worried about. You will find your sacred trigger. But there are things that come to wake us up, things that come to loosen it up, help us get beyond it, help us heal it. And without that sacred trigger, you're just locked in. And who wants to stay locked in with an experience they're not loving, right? So, even when people do write me and complain, do that half and half thing, I used to hate you, I couldn't stand you, and now I love you, that kind of a thing, it's not about me, right? If that happens to you, it's not about you. But where it's familiar, that's the place that is about you. And I tell you what, for me, It's about getting feedback like that and deciding to quit or deciding to go away or deciding to not talk about it anymore, And are we going to let the zombies win? Are we going to let people who complain win? The poo-poo at the party. I remember, this is going way, way back. I used to hold an event at my house called Tea with Robin. Recognize the title? Some of you used to come on Sundays. We would gather. We would share. I would lead this circle. And invariably, there would be a few people who would show up. And, they were not nice. They were bitchy. They would mutter things under their breath. I don't really get it, other than that was my sacred trigger. That was my pattern, that people, I expected that as part of it. I expected it. In some way, you could say I was counting on it. And it's taken me a long time to word it that way, to come to that place where I really do realize that our experience we're having, we're creating it as we go. And so if you don't enjoy the push-pull of toxic people in your life or narcissistic people or whatever the patterns are, listen, you get to rewrite that script for yourself. You do. You do. You do. I still think about that. There were a few people at Tea with Robin. And I at the time, I still think, who goes to an event and acts like that? But also, bless them on their way. I'm so glad for all of it, because here we are now, and I'm just saying it, and it's not my problem if people are mad at me about that. It's not my problem. Right? Yes, it is not my problem. It's also not your problem, my friend. Sometimes people will say, you talk about this on the podcast. I can't believe anybody would say negative things to you. I just don't even get it. I get it. I really do, because that's been part of my experience. I have expected that. I'm not saying it's my fault. I'm saying I've expected that. And so you draw the people to you who are also expecting that, needing that experience for themselves. And, we're all free. Are there anybody else you listen to? Maybe you love it here, but is there anybody else you listen to and you're like, oh no, I can't even listen. I don't even like it. Their voice, whatever. I tried to listen to a book on tape, as we used to call it. I was listening to something on Hoopla, the free library app, and I was like, oh no, I cannot. The way this is being read, it is not. No, I can't. It had a voice like this or something. I can't do it. But it just grated. It grated for whatever reason. So, it's not always a big deal. It's not always, who cares, right? Let's just be where we love it. Let's go where we're celebrated and not where we're tolerated, and I think it's really fine. I think it's really fine. If things bug you and you don't like it, move on. Even if it's here, move on. It's all right. You don't have to. I don't know where we got this idea that we have to stay and we have to work it out, I make the joke all the time. I don't like mushrooms, and I don't have to like them. I don't have to keep trying. There was a time where I thought I did, though. I thought I had to keep trying. You don't have to. You get to have preferences. How freeing is that? You get to have preferences. And there's nothing wrong with having preferences. Does anybody feel conflicted about that, spiritually speaking? Like, it's okay if you don't love everything. It's okay to have preferences. It's okay to be honest about what you prefer. But the stuff you don't enjoy, you don't need to trash it, do you? And if you do trash it, just know you're going with the trash. You're joining in that place. That's what it means, like in the work of Paul Selig and the guides, when he says, what you damn damns you back. You can't hold another person in darkness and expect to go free. When we dish negative stuff, you usually feel like crap. Yeah. Right. Good. Okay. So let's read a letter. Friends, I love reading your letters, your messages, your questions, your requests, and your emails. My address is hello@robinhallett.com or Instagram, Facebook, direct messaging. Okay, here we go. Hi, Robin. My friendships are very one-sided. I feel I put myself out there with people and I try and encourage connectedness, but I struggle with getting it back. Help? With a couple question marks there. Help? Thank you, my friend. We are frustrated with certain patterns and situations. I think for me, that is the thing about a sacred trigger. It's like this familiar thing happens. I've been here before. I've been here many times. I know, I recognize this feeling. The temptation is to be frustrated, to go away frustrated, and maybe even to feel jaded, to swear off friendships, to swear off the process of relationship, because this is how it always seems to go for you. But here we go. This is the gift in a sacred trigger, is instead of getting hardened off by the experience, you're reaching out for support, conversation with me here about that. I love this. This is an opportunity for some growth to happen, some holy shift to take place. So the first thing is, what do you notice in the pattern that happens for you? What's familiar? What are the feelings that are familiar here for you? What are the stories that are familiar? Take some time to sit with this. It's okay if you're not a journaler, but I do sometimes like to write things out. I think it's helpful to make a list, to think of people, write some names, some situations, who's coming to mind, and let yourself get a little more clarity around this thing sparks up and I go to a very familiar place. Does that make sense? Next, I really suggest to inquire, to ask with love, with acceptance, with kindness toward the self, towards yourself. What is your holy shift? What is the opportunity here that is speaking to you? And for me, one of the ways to do that is to get it out, to write it down, to let myself express how I'm feeling and see what the pattern reveals to me about myself. Let yourself have your feelings, your experience. Let yourself really express how you're feeling while you're figuring it out, what it is about it that's feeling so intense for you, But then ask yourself, if this is a sacred trigger, what is it here that's here for me? What is it here that's here for me? You put yourself out there with people and you try and encourage connectedness, but you struggle with getting it back. Your friendships feel very one-sided. That is something we notice, don't we? We really, really notice it, how one-sided things are, how much we invest. So this is something I hear a lot where it's like, what's up with that? I put so much effort in and nobody seems to listen to me. I invite people over and nobody invites me back, or I really try and the connectedness isn't there. I would never presume to speak to you about your situation, but I do feel this calling. I'm drawn to talk to you about the pattern that you're living and the way you might be recognizing something here that is, sometimes I call it the little red thread that sews through all of your experiences like this with relationship and wanting to be connected. The little red thread, like in quilting, if we were making a hand quilt and we would tie the squares together with the little red thread. So I wonder what you're noticing. Probably the frustration and the exhaustion of putting yourself out there, and already knowing it might not work out. A lot of people feel this way about dating, don't you? Talking to my friends who are on dating sites, and just that feeling of like, oh, and it's like, yeah, I get that, but tune in. There's got to be more to it there to discover, like a sacred trigger. Are you worried about things? Are you worried about being rejected? Are you actually anxious to what you'll do if it turns out well? A lot of us are actually more worried about it going well than what we expect to happen, which is going wrong, So sit with some of this. And like I say, I wouldn't want to speak to you directly on this, but most of the time I find we are the common denominator. So where are we expecting it to go badly again? If it's one or two regular friends that you have, what is the pattern you guys are in? What is the dynamic, the two of you, the dance you do together? Because if there's push-pull, if there's energy there, there's a lot we're writing as we go. We're writing the script as we move forward in the relationship. Frankly, I'm feeling cautious now, but a lot of people who are challenging to be with do not have a lot of self-awareness about the things they do to push people away. And I'm saying, sometimes that means I can be too intense, too serious about it, too frustrated, too easily. We've been burned so many times. We've been let down so many times. So there's all this intensity that comes into it, I encourage you to sit with that and let it unfold for you. What is going on? Don't be afraid to look at what you may or may not be doing. I gotta say, so I'll talk about me. I was in a circle of friends in my 30s where I felt a very strong pull, and we all did, to be together, and it sort of over the years unfolded into this family dynamic that I don't think any of us really understood at the time, where it was a lot of repeats of the old stuff that we had all lived through. And so, there I was in this circle trying to be seen and recognized and acknowledged. And some of it, like you, I felt very one-sided, like they didn't answer my texts. They didn't return my phone calls. If I invited them to my house, I didn't feel that they reciprocated in kind. Just remembering back, it was very painful. But I also know, just gently looking at myself, this is 20 years ago. I'm guessing that there was a lot of intensity I brought too, because I was so frustrated, and I really blamed myself for them not seeming to like me back. You know what I mean? Like, I took that personally because that was my experience all my life. But some friends are just not, it's not a hot friendship. I don't know, hot and heavy. Can we say that about friends, girlfriends, boyfriends, friends? It's just not hot and heavy. You're just not into each other. I know this to be the case, and maybe I was that for them. And in retrospect, they were certainly that for me, because I have friends where it's so easy. It's so effortless. And, if we may not talk a lot, but when we do, there's just that sense. And yeah, I hope this is helping somebody out there today. I feel a little bit rambly and kind of nervous talking about these things, but we are the common denominator. We're writing our experience. and what is not going well for us, let's not be afraid to look at how we do the dance too, with the other people or the other person. Or, in the case of this podcast, when people get mad at me for things I say here, don't just look at me. Take a look at what it is that's so familiar about this. Is it just the first time ever, or is this a long-standing pattern, Because we do carry certain things we feel very tenderly about because we're on a healing journey. These are our sacred triggers. Don't be afraid to look at yourself and say, what do I bring to this dance? What do I bring to this dance? What's familiar here? Sometimes I say to people, when you don't know, ask yourself, what do I almost know about this pattern we're doing here? What do I almost know? Because it's like maybe we're afraid to be wrong. It's sort of kind of like this, Sort of kind of feel like I chase after, I'm thinking about you here, my friend. I chase after people who don't see me. They're not lit up about me. I'm drawn to people who are not excited about me. That is a real thing we do. There are people I talk to who are not into people and they feel guilty, so they go. I heard a story very recently about a couple having another couple over and didn't want to do it, but felt they had to reciprocate. And it was one of those things where it's like and so we're all getting together, though nobody wants to be here and nobody wants to be doing this. We're doing it. Why? Wouldn't it be amazing to live our lives in a place of freedom and ease? And even if you feel bad, there are people who will fall in and out of your life. It's meant to be that way. There are certain relationships that are more like sacred contracts. Do you know that work from Caroline Myss? Caroline Myss wrote this book called Sacred Contracts, and there are so many beautiful stories in there where it's like, we were meant to meet for a time. Kismet. This idea of it was meant to be. It was sort of ordained or aligned. There's an energy here that is much more than just me and you. Like the universe is involved in this. That feeling of it was destiny, it was fate. We were meant to meet. I meet people here through the podcast who went to the same kindergarten as me. They, I have given talks, public talks, and somebody comes up to me later and says, I lived in that town too. At the same time I was in fourth grade, they were in fourth grade in the same town. I mean, sometimes things happen like that, but it's not like then we're supposed to go home together and become best friends and then get married and then spend the rest of our lives together, So some things are like they flow in and out. You're learning. You're being given something from spirit. You're being answered on something. You're being given an opportunity to realize, I'm not that into this person. I'm not that into this idea. Maybe you get some negative mail and you say, I don't really mind it, actually. I'm not going to lose sleep over this because I know what I'm here to do. I know what I'm doing. And if you're not challenging some hearts occasionally, I wonder if the message is really true. I never liked being taught this, but there was a time where I was learning about marketing, learning about blogging and all that. And one of the things a lot of people would say is if you're not getting negative comments, your message isn't clear enough. And it bugged me. It bugged me so much, but it bugged me mostly because I was afraid. I was afraid. I didn't want that. So I'm all over, but I know I'm resonant here on this message today, my friend. Sacred triggers. So to you who asked, I put myself out there and my friendships are one-sided. You are amazing. You are a spark of the divine. You are light in the body, beautiful, creative, interesting, fun. Are you giving it to the places that receive it, or are you giving it where it's not being received? Don't be afraid to look. Don't be afraid to look. And if all you feel at this point is defended, if it feels very one-sided, like you do nothing and everybody else is at fault, I would say that is a real flag to sit with. And I would Google things like, who's really good at talking about this? Cheryl Richardson, Louise Hay, beautiful, beautiful. You Can Heal Your Life. Cheryl Richardson, Care for the Caregiver might be a place to start. There's nothing wrong with our reactions or our experiences. They just are. They just are. But I encourage us. We're all growing and expanding, and it's never a one-sided dance. It just isn't. So, yeah, whatever resonated here for you, my friend, I just remind you, you're worthy of looking, you're worthy of giving your heart to where it's really being celebrated, where it's really being cherished. Let's read that Joel Osteen quote. I don't really look at my stats. I promise I don't. But I do notice when I update the blog, my blog, with these show notes every week, there's a little thing that says your top articles that people read. And it's always one of the chakra articles, and the next one is go where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated. And it starts with a Joel Osteen quote, which I have here. He says, "Don't try to convince anyone that you're a good person. Quit trying to win someone over who isn't kind but only tolerates you. You don't need their approval. You don't need their approval. Be kind, be respectful, but you don't have to stay. Go where you are celebrated. Keep living forward and trust that the light people are out there, and trust that the right people are there. You never need to convince anyone to love you." And that was Joel Osteen who said that. Many of us know this pattern, though. And people will ask me, yeah, but what do you do? You'll have these situations where it's like I'm not even going to get into the examples, because who cares? We could be giving examples forever and ever and ever. The thing is, friends, go where you're celebrated, where you feel that energy of toleration, whether it's you or them, Thinking about my friends who all got together for dinner and nobody really wanted to do it. And then they were stuck giving hints about what time it was to leave, and the other couple wasn't getting it. We don't have to do it. Or let's say you do have a family member who is just not, you just don't have the same connection that you do with this other family member. Stop making yourself do things out of obligation and toleration. Just stop. Let the energy lie. Let it be still. Let it go still for a while. This is the only way it's going to heal or reveal what message needs to come out of those sacred triggers. Stop messing with it. Let it be. We do have to learn how to bear our guilt, don't we? Going back to those emails, I am not going to respond to that kind of crap, I'm not going to respond, but I might feel guilty about not answering. I can learn to bear that, If somebody invites me and I don't want to get together, I can learn to bear that, You know, sometimes people will say, like, in the healing practice, after we meet for a session, they'll say, let's go out to dinner next time. It's just so innocent, you know? But I have learned to say, this is where we met. This is where we will stay. This is where we'll keep meeting, you know? I've learned to do it because anything else is like not honest. It leads people on. It leads them astray. It continues patterns. And, right, we never have to convince anyone to love us, and we never have to convince anyone of our love. We just have to be honest and be ourselves and show up and do our due and know that things are going to happen. You're going to have yucky feelings. You're going to have feelings of rejection or feelings of fear. Can you learn to be with that? It's 5:55 on the clock right now. Can you learn to be with that? Can you hold yourself through that? To my friend who wrote that awesome message, so many of us relate to that. Can you learn to be with the frustration in you, the sadness, and not make another move, especially if you've been giving your shine, your love to people who aren't reciprocating? It's time to let it be. Really, can you love yourself and be good company of one? You know, I love the company I keep when I'm alone. I love being with myself, and I really value my time. And so if I'm going to give my time somewhere, give an hour up of my aloneness time. How do you say that? You know, it better be what I want it to be. But I've got years of not doing that, so I know. So friends, you know, sacred triggers, my goodness. Let's say a little blessing. It's been a while since we've said a prayer together. We've said, shine some light together. And I'm going to light a candle here. Okay. You ready? So maybe, are you thinking about something? Your own sacred trigger, or a wish for yourself right now, a wish for your own freedom, for your light, for your healing? Here we go. I'm going to say it in first person, so I think it's more powerful that way. Help me to flow in my next right steps on this energy I have been tuning into today. Help me to know and flow with my own next right steps. Allow me to bear the feelings that I'm learning to heal from and rise above in some cases. Help me to do that. I know who I am in truth. I know what I am in truth. And I know how I serve in truth. I am free. I am free. I am free. And so it is. Amen. Aho and ahoy. Ahoy, my friend. And that last part is Paul Selig and the Guides. I cannot mention their work highly enough. Listening, YouTubing. I'll put some links in the show notes. And I kind of keep a journal because I do take a lot of classes with Paul. I really enjoy it. It's fun for me. But I just popped open the book of my notes and it says, fear is the only obstacle to realization. Every time you feel fear, ask it for its lesson. It can be your teacher. How beautiful is that? And so I think we'll leave it there, beloved. Always I'm here to answer if there's something you want to hear me talk about or something you want to ask, write to me, hello@robinhallett.com. Message me on Instagram or Facebook. I'm there. And if this show resonated today, if this episode resonated and you see it somewhere, give it a like, give it a thumbs up, share it on, share it in your stories, tell a friend, help the message reach the people who are asking for it. You know, we'll keep that kismet sparkles, keep those kismet sparkles going. So, beloved, I hope you have a beautiful week. Be good to yourself. Try an adventure. Try to do something special for yourself. Take a different walk. Try a different piece of music than what you normally do. Do a puzzle instead of a whatever, try a new recipe. Do something different to bring and welcome your aliveness. This has been me, Robin Heartsparkler Hallett, and I'm going to see you here next week or in a few minutes. Bye-bye. Life is very short, let's make the very most of it. You are a precious gem and I love you. Do 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 do. We are here to shine and shine bright. You are a gem and I love you. Do 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 do. Life is precious and you are a spark of the divine. So shine like you know it, rock it like you mean it, 'cause you really, really mean it, and mean it, and mean it, and mean it, and mean it. Don't let crispy people tell you that you aren't sparkly, 'cause you are, 'cause you are, 'cause you are. Thank you. I like that. I love it, honey. Thank you. Give me a kiss. Thanks.